Hi YouTube, welcome to my channel. It's Dirty Dems, and today we're going to be restoring an old school BMX. The BMX I'm going to attempt to restore is an old school Raleigh burner Mark 1. So it's the blue Mark 1 Raleigh burner. These were very popular back in the day. This particular frame is a bit of a challenge. I call it the swamp thing, because it looks like it's been dragged out of the swamp backwards. It's completely rusted and it's a bit of a pig of a project to do. Originally I was going to put this off, but seeing as we're in lockdown, we've got lots of free time on our hands, so I thought I'd attempt it. It was just sitting in the garage, so I thought, let's do it. So I'm going to attempt to turn this into this. So just remove the lid on my tub of acid, you know, just casually got that tub of acid in the garden. Oh, that's a shame. Wheels aren't going to fit. Peak. Sick. The wheels do actually fit, you just got to put them in at an angle. Just poke that down under the acid. Come on. You can get two wheels in there. Yep, nice. These are the same wheels that I dipped earlier on. Just giving them a rinse and a wipe down. I'm going to polish them up next. But as you can see, most of the rust has gone. Just a bit of pitting on the chrome, but that can't be helped. Got another little Raleigh burner soaking away. Back home from work and I'm attacking this, mate. Just pulled it out the acid bath. The bottom bracket is so rusted, I've got to file it down to get the shape back of the nut so I can get a proper grip on there, because it's all chewed up. So I'm filing down the metal to try and shape up so I can twist it off. Wish me luck. In the end, resorted to breaking the bolt with a metal chisel, and just whacked it through there and split it. So now the bolt should come off any second. Yeah, hey, she's off. Welded on. Bit of brute force and a hammer. Got there in the end. Nearly there, man. Been hammering away trying to get this off. That's what success looks like. Achievement, hard work, done. This is the crank off of the swamp burner. Just a little bit more cleaning up to do on it. So I've got this top ring off the headset, and I had to use this metal chisel again to prise it off. I'm going to try and get that off next. We have some movement on the headset. I had to bend the thread with I whacked it with a hammer and a chisel just to loosen it up, which means these forks are going to go in the bin. They've got a hole in them anyway, so at least if we can get this off, we can put new forks on. There it is. We've got this rusted head top headset off. Now this, in theory, the forks should just slide out. So, got the headset off, got the crank off, given the bike a little rub down, but to speed things up we're going to use some paint stripper, and we're going to need some big heavy duty gloves. I'm going to strip it right down to bare metal. You can see it was an original blue burner, Mark 1. So the idea would be to strip it down, weld parts of it up and filler it in, and then respray blue. So I've applied the paint stripper, put a nice liberal coat on there, leave that for a couple of hours and come back and see where we are. So this is the blue burner after the first coat. I used a scraper, but I wasn't really getting anywhere with the scraper, so I switched it up and I started using this scraping tool. It's got like a nice sharp blade on it, and I've peeled off a layer of paint, so it should be thinner now, and I'm going to put another coat of paint stripper on there. That's the second coat of paint stripper. Third coat of paint stripper. Must be nearly there. Yeah, a little update on the Raleigh burner, the swamp burner. Had to resort to scraping off the paint with this, and we've made a little bit of a mess on the floor there. We're getting there, nearly there. Right, so what I'm doing here, I've got all the little rusty parts. I'm going to pour some petrol in there, and then hopefully that should take some of the rust off. We'll see how it comes out. See, it's now full with petrol. See how that works. Little update, getting there. Managed to scrape most of the paint off using this blade and some wire wool. So just using that to wire scour it off, and I will have a set of brush cups, wire brush cups that I can attach to a drill, and then I'm going to go over it with the brush cups, polish it up properly, grind out any rust. So next up, step that I missed out, I'm going to try and get these old cups out, these bearing cups. So I'm going to stick this tool in here on the edge of the cup and just give it a whack with a mallet, try and get them out from each, and then spin the frame round and do the same with the other cup, and then probably put the cups to soak in some petrol. Also, I just wanted to add, I'm going to try heating up the cups with the blowtorch just to expand the metal, then give them a whack and they might come out easier. So I'm going to have a closer look at the frame. I've stripped it down now. You can see there's like quite a lot of dinks in it, which I intend to filler at a later stage. And we've got some rust holes here. It's in quite a bad state, but it's too good to throw away down the tip. This is the worst patch here underneath. I don't know if you can see it. And basically there's a crater in there that needs cutting out and re-welding. A few little holes. So yeah, so a lot of body work to do on the frame, and I've got these wire brush cups that I'm going to use today to grind out as much of the rust as I can. So here are the wire cups that I will be attaching to a drill and attempting to polish up the frame and grind out the rust. Grind out the rust. So it looks like it's going well. If you can see, this area here is quite brown and rusty. If I take this to it and just hold it on there, so it cleans it up nicely. So I've done half the frame with the wire brush, grinding it down. You can see this half is more polished and there's less rust. I've ground out a lot of the rust, whereas this half I haven't started yet. Had to take a break because my hands are tingling. They've got pins and needles in from holding the power drill, so I'm going to have a little break, come back in about an hour, crack on with the other half. It's all smoothed off, grinded out, grinded the rust off. Still got to do this side. So that's the original crank. So I got my gas mask on. So that's the original crank. These are the crank arms. I've ground out a lot of rust from it, and now I'm probably going to give it a coat of quick glow just to seal it with some wax so the rust doesn't come back. But yeah, we've ground down the forks and the frame, so the frame's ready for welding. So I've just sprayed the forks with some primer, and I was using a gas mask, so it's important to use your health and safety when spraying. The type of primer I was using was this one, Rust Stop Worth, and it's a grey primer and it stops the rust coming back through from the metal. And then so the next stage would be to give this a light sand and then paint black. So I'm going to spray some Loop Black on the forks. Just going to shake up the can, give it a good shake, and then we're going to test it out, get all the crap out of it first, and then spray light coats. Okay, happy that's coming out nice. So I'm going to hold it about 12 inches away from the frame and just lightly spray the first coat on, just moving around the forks, just getting a nice light coat on there first, and then we'll walk around to the other side. Careful not to overspray. Don't want to lay it on too thick. That's when you get drips. I've just given it the first light coat, so I'm going to let that dry for a few seconds, maybe possibly a minute or two, and then do the next coat. So I'm going to give it the second coat now. Again, holding it far away, spraying it on lightly and just moving around the forks, trying to get an even application of paint on there. You can see after the second coat it's got like a speckly texture to it, so it's not too thick yet. But you can see around here it's sort of shiny and smoother, so that's what we're going to end up with eventually, like a shiny smooth application on probably the third or fourth coat. Can of Autotech clear lacquer. I've got my bike stand set up here in the garden, and I've got two forks, same sprayed black, and we're going to use the clear lacquer over that. These, more important to note that these have been drying over the last 4 days, so you need to allow time for the paint to set properly, for the gas to be released from the spray paints, so it's not trapped under the lacquer. So you need to allow a few days, or use a heat gun. Make sure the spray paint's cured properly, and then spray your lacquer on top. Also bear in mind, this is going to be a DIY finish, so it's not going to be as up to showroom standard like you would get in a car garage. But we have the elements, we have the wind blowing, dust, bugs, etc. So we just got to be careful of that. So I'm going to give the can of lacquer a good shake, mix it up, get the gas all mixed up and the liquid all mixed up. And I might just go over it with a heat gun quickly, just to blow any dust off and heat up the forks. I recommend that you use the heat gun, just so that you know that the paint is cured properly. Now, the forks have been in the sunshine for the last 4 days. They've been sunbathing, so they've been getting a lot of heat, but we don't know if they're fully cured. So just going to give it a light warm up with the heat gun now, and it will blow off any dust. Also, we just want to make sure that it is cured, so that when we do the lacquer, we're not wasting our time and it doesn't affect us later on down the line. So we're just going to heat it up, but we don't want to burn or make the paint bubble, so we're going to keep the heat moving around the forks. I'm just going to hold it far away, about 8 inches away. Just warm up the forks, keep it moving. So we're hitting the forks with a clear coat today. Got lovely weather for it, sun shining. Did you look at them babies shining away? So we're at an exciting stage of the swamp burner build. I've bought this stuff here off eBay, and it's a I don't know if we can focus on that. Basically it's a rust treatment primer, so we're going to paint this frame with this stuff and it will turn any rust black. So the frame will probably go rust, the rust on the frame will go black. It will lock it in, and then we can use a rust primer on top to give it extra strength, and then we will spray it. First I'm just going to wipe down the frame with some nail polish remover, just to remove any grease that might be on the frame. So I've wiped the frame down. I'm going to use this paintbrush. I've got gloves on to protect my skin because it's irritating to the skin. So make sure you've got PPE, gloves, mask, all of those things. I'm going to paint on the solution with this small paintbrush. I'm just starting from the top and working my way around the bike, just painting it carefully, not splashing it everywhere. I'm going to walk around the bike and apply it in all the bits, all the nooks and crannies. So you can see the solution has reacted with the rust and it's gone black, and it's sealed it in. It's now dry, so I'm going to spray it with some rust primer as well. So it's had a coat of primer, just cooking up in the sun. You can see all the dents now. They're all going to get filled in, all the holes and the dinks, and smoothed off. And then another coat of primer will go on. I'll sand that down, and then it'll be ready for paint. A few layers of paint, sand down the paint, and then lacquer. Okay, so closer look at the frame of the Swamp Burner after primer. From another angle I can see I've missed a bit here, on here and here. So today my plan is to fill in all these little dinks with a putty called Milliput. It's a very strong putty, and it will weld itself to metal and be as strong as metal and very hard to remove. So I'm going to paste the putty on, smooth it out, and then we'll give the frame a sand again and then another coat of primer. So the putty will be acting like filler, but it's more durable, and you can mould it into shapes. Here we have the Milliput, and it's a two-part putty that forms a bond with wood, plastics, glass, metals, cement, and it's very strong. So it's two parts. I'm going to roll it up and knead it out and then start applying. You can add water to make it smoother as well, to form shapes that you want. So here you can see I've got the two parts here, there and there, and I'm just chopping it up, kneading it together, mixing up the putty, putting a bit of water in, rolling it out, and just getting it really mixed up in there so it has a nice reaction. You can roll it like a sausage, just warm it up, get it nice and soft. So I've applied all the putty in the areas where there was dinks and holes, filled it all in. Once it's set, it will dry rock hard, and I will sand them down, give another coat of primer spray, and then some fine filler in the smaller dinks. So I'm using a block and this wire wool for the really high spots. You can see some here, just to take off the high spots on the bodywork, and then I'm going to use a sponge sanding pad afterwards. So giving the frame a rub down with some sandpaper, and I used the sanding pad, the foam pad as well, and wiped it down with some nail polish remover just to take any loose dust off. And now I'm going to try and do some filler, some car filler, just to bring the bodywork up nice. So my last bodywork filler was gone off, out of date, so I bought some new stuff and I've applied it to the frame in areas, and I'll use a fine sandpaper to sand it down once it's dry in about 20 minutes time. Then I may give this another coat of primer and just see if there's any little imperfections, do some more filler on top of that. Yeah, we're just going to keep working at it. So the frame's been fillered, repaired, all the bodywork sanded down. We can probably lay on the second coat of primer tomorrow, sand that down, and then begin painting blue. Oi. Got them yellow mags. Yeah, they look kind of sick still. So my yellow UT Skyway wheels, mag wheels, arrived today. So my next task is to get these tyres onto the wheels. Let's do it. And just like that, they're on the yellow mags by magic. Let's get them pumped up. And just like that, they're pumped up. So now to get these on the bike.